Hello everyone. Today we are again on LinkedIn Live Talk, and this live talk is about banking insights unplugged. So we talk about the banking industry, what are the hiring trends, how is the banking industry evolving in next 3 to 5 years. Last talk was all about the corporate banking, and today we have our special guest who is Shrutorsi Mukherjee. He is the regional head of talent acquisition and deputy vice president HR of the HDFC Bank. So the today's session 2 is all about future ready banking, the skills, strategies and hiring trends in the banking industry. So if I am loud and clear and you can see me, please write L and C loud and clear in the chat box. L and C in the chat box. A very good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for writing loud and clear. And now I request everyone to write their city and state in the chat box so that I know कि आप कौन से शहर से कौन से स्टेट से जुड़े हैं हमारे साथ. Your city and state in the chat box. So Garima is from Mohali. So kindly write your सिटी एंड स्टेट इन दी चैट बॉक्स ताकि हमें मालूम हो जाए कि आप कौन से शहर से हैं. अभिषेक इज फ्रॉम दिल्ली, गुरलीन इज फ्रॉम हरियाणा रोहतक, पारुल इज फ्रॉम पठानकोट अमृतसर राजस्थान, दीपक इज फ्रॉम इंदौर, and then we have people from Nagpur, Ahmedabad, Delhi, Shri Ganganagar, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Delhi again, Tavleen Kaur from Jammu, and then we have Sonia Peter from Mohali, Aman from Roorkee, Swainka from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. Thank you everyone. So we have people from Jammu, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Bombay. We have Dhaval Waghela from Bombay. Very good. So we have candidates joining across India, Noida, Pune. Right. So today's guest is Shrutorsi Mukherjee. He is the regional head of talent acquisition, deputy vice president HR of HDFC Bank. So we welcome you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. So, sir has done his BCom in 2003 from St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, and then postgraduate diploma in human resource management. Then he started his career with a CA firm, and then he joined NIIT and then an NBFC, and now he is working with HDFC Bank as a regional head talent acquisition, deputy vice president HR of the HDFC Bank. So we welcome you, sir. So we have candidates joining across India from different states, and they are very desperate and eager to listen to you and such a seasoned HR, and that too from the largest bank of India, HDFC Bank. So, sir,
Thank you. My pleasure.
so we will be communicating for 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will be taking questions, which will again be of 10 minutes, sir. So, sir,
Sure.
I want to ask you, how has the banking talent landscape evolved post pandemic? So, what we have seen in the past before pandemic and now it is post pandemic. And what are the major shifts you have observed in the hiring trends?
Okay. So thank you for that question. Just wanted to say hello to everybody on the live chat today. I will be sharing my experience with all of you based on my own personal knowledge and information. I just wanted to put it out there that I'm not representing the bank today, but this is purely in my personal capacity that I will be speaking. So your question was how is the banking sort of evolution of the banking talent
Post.
landscape, right? Yeah. So I think one of the major changes post pandemic we have seen is the increase or the accelerated sort of growth in digital banking services. There's been a huge digital transformation there. So, based on technological innovations that companies have done, lots of banking apps, etc., have come up. I think one of the major changes has been there's reliance on digital banking services now. So people have had to adapt to that. Second is a lot of banks, a lot of organizations have shifted to adopting remote and hybrid work models. So that has definitely changed how we look at work overall, and this shift has also allowed us to reach out to more talent across India. So people, there were a lot of some of my friends who are working in other organizations have told me they were targeting housewives. So this is just an example I'm saying. So how banks operate have changed, how has that has changed, and how we look at talent pool has also changed. So we've been able to reach out to more people. So and there was another part of to that question which you can just if you can repeat that.
And what are the major shifts you have observed in the hiring trends?
From my personal experience, I feel one of the major shift has been the way uh, the there has been suddenly this shortage of talent. I feel in banking, and we are coping with it on a day-to-day basis. There's this also sudden boom of fintech companies which have come through. So from traditional banks, students are I think or candidates are now applying to a lot of fintech organizations, and that is where I see a huge shift. I think that has also created a competition, a sort of war of talent, I could say, where the traditional banks and the fintech companies are all vying for the same kind of uh, talent pool. So that has, I feel, really one shift I can see. And the fact that people are now looking for different skill sets, people are looking for organizations are looking for talent with different skill sets like digital skill sets and digital and technology skills. These have become very very now important, and then that is one shift I see. But in the sense, post pandemic, or even whether it is due to pandemic now, the talent pool has shifted, that the mindset has changed, and we still require people who need to be who basically have the right skill sets to do the job. That hasn't changed, but definitely the talent shortage I feel is one of the areas.
Right, right. So, sir, you talked about the hybrid model. What we have observed in our organizations is कि लोग hybrid model में तो आ जाते हैं, but then they don't work or their productivity is a challenge when they are working from home. And do you see here in the banking industry also?
See, there's some roles where you cannot do hybrid. There's some roles where you can afford to do hybrid, and then there's some roles where you can totally afford to, give the full work from home freedom. So the hybrid model I feel is a good model, considering I have personally utilized my team currently is working in a hybrid model. So I feel that is it works well. It all depends on how you set your goals, how you set your priorities, and um, how you design the work, sort of KRAs and everything. So if people are able to manage that, and a lot of that goes to the supervisory capability also, I feel, of the managers of how they're being able to manage their staff. um, Obviously you cannot expect the same kind of work productivity if you have a uh, hybrid model, but it's workable, it's doable if you set the right specific goals, and you set the right expectations and outcomes. I think it's quite achievable.
Right. Right. So my second question to you is, sir, what are the top skills that banks are now prioritizing while hiring professionals?
So I,
And
I touched upon it. I think there's a lot happening on the digital transformation space, and here there are areas where um, uh, organizations are looking for people with AI skills in AI. Also, data analytics that remains. It has always been there. It remains to be one of the top. You know, People are seeking those skills. And in terms of tech skills, I already talked about this. And I think proficiency in digital banking platforms, that is something that is very, very important, because this is a highly valued skill. So who people who are able to use banking platforms, digital platforms, they will obviously be, if they can showcase that in their interview, or if they showcase that in their in the when they are seeking out similar opportunities, that will definitely come, be given importance and preference. Cyber security is also very, very important. That's one area where I feel that is also coming up a lot.
right. And sir, if we talk about the fresher graduates hiring, and that too into front end operational role, for where the IPB is working on the teller CSO roles. So, what do you think? What are the skills required for that?
So I feel that certain things will continuously change around us. Like, today it is AI, tomorrow it will be cyber security, something else will new will keep coming. So if you look at skills, this is changing in 5 years. The skills required to do jobs is changing in 5 years. However, something that keeps you going and something that remains constant with you is the soft skills. So whether it is a fresher, or whether it is somebody who is already got experience, soft skill development is very, very important, I feel. So basic things like having communication skills, and interpersonal skills, skills to take tough fast decisions, and problem solving skills. We call it critical thinking. These kind of things becomes very, very crucial for and nowadays it can be taught to freshers. It's not something that you only with experience you can pick up. It's a mindset. Okay. So institutions and various organizations are now working on improving these aspects, the soft skills, because this is something that remains with you constant, so this doesn't change. The industry relevance in terms of the skill set that you have for the industry, that may change, but if you keep improving on these soft skills, I feel this is an area where, and this is also a skill that we look for while hiring even now. So this has been there in the past, this has been there, this is going to go, even in future it's going to be the same. So it's very important. And now, with, again, coming back to that point on post pandemic, I think a lot, uh, there is a huge need for people to be adaptable and flexible. So being adaptable with changing times, being adaptable in terms of there is this the constant disruptions nowadays, in industry, in skills, in ways we work. So these things are very important now, whether the person can think on its feet, whether the person is being adaptable. And one other area which I feel also can be taught even at a fresher level is how to develop a customer centricity mindset. How you can build uh, or you can develop on customer expectation management or customer satisfaction. These areas become very critical, because in commercial banking, this is an area which is always going to be there. You're going to meet a customer, you're going to have to cater to customer expectations. So having customer centricity, or being able to deal with customers in times of adversity, these are very, very important skill sets.
Right. So, sir, some light is coming from your left side. if you can little bit.
from my this side, or
Yeah. No, other side. So there is some light coming up.
all right.
There is sunlight maybe coming up from.
Won't be sunlight at this time of the day. Uh, is it better now?
Yeah, still there is, but it's fine. Otherwise, not that much.
Sorry about that. I can't really.
Right. No, no problem, sir. Sir, what are and how are the banks adapting the hiring strategies? Like maybe some personal question regarding that, but overall, what are the hiring strategies to attract the top talent?
So, in terms of the hiring strategies, I feel one of the areas where banks are now heavily, dependent are on using different kind of assessments. Okay, and this could be psychometric tests, etc., which we are using to understand how fast a person can think on their feet, decision making ability. So now the most important, I feel, is that the I feel that standard interviewing technique should still be there in terms of hiring, but the use of technological platforms or online platforms, or using different software tools, can be adopted to take better decisions. So I think most organizations have moved on to an online platforms. I see a lot of campus also being done online right now. Campus strategies where there are very sophisticated tools to conduct campus in bulk, and use of social media, use of various recruitment tools which are online. These are being used. I feel this is something that is there. And also I feel, in terms of the hiring strategy, there are a lot of organizations who are coming out there and now talking about the employee experience. What can an employee experience from joining an organization? So there's a lot of focus on that. So when you talk about, let's say, employee well-being, or when you talk about professional development, what can happen when the person joins in the organization, or even offering flexible work options, etc. These are also being communicated now, so that there's people are attracted to apply to organizations. And also, so there are institutions like yours which are in doing strategic partnerships with organizations, banks, to create job ready models, and making sure that you are not only skilling people but also upskilling people or reskilling people to make sure that they have the right skill sets to do the job. So these are all the hiring strategies, I feel.
And what do you think, sir? What are the biggest hiring challenges being faced today?
See, I think it all comes back to what I initially mentioned. That there's talent shortage today, and in terms of shortage, there's a lot of competition now. There are banks, there are traditional banks who are all vying for the same talent pool, and there is also these there are fintech companies also now offering really good packages, attractive packages. Also they're talking about their their modern workplaces, etc. So for traditional banks, these hiring challenges are becoming a certain, there's competition. So that is one aspect. And uh, traditional banks may not be able to offer those kind of attractive compensation packages. And there are, of course, in terms of, while I mentioned that there is AI, and there is cybersecurity, and data analytics, these are certain skill sets which are top skills, but I feel that there's a gap here. There is a skill gap in terms of these emerging technologies. So that is one challenge I feel. And yeah, so coming back to that, I feel that how do you attract these young talent? How do you make sure that the younger generation is, you're getting attracted to join banks, traditional banks? And also, how are you being able to retain them? That also is a challenge, because the younger generation is very quick to assess what is right for them, what is not right for them. So how you are able to attract them, and how you're able to retain them. So these are some of the challenges, I feel.
Right. So recently, sir, we also got a feedback from a small finance bank that your candidates work with us for at least 6 months to 1 year, and then they try to shift to some universal bank or some fintech or NBFC where they are getting good packages. So
Yes, yes.
now we have designed a system, uh, basically based on that competence iceberg model, where we see कि what is the motive of the student, but still the challenges remain like that only. We are
Okay,
also trying to settle it down, but yes. So let's
okay,
open the chat for the question answers. So we
okay.
have
Thank you.
a question from Govind Gurnani, who is the retired banker from RBI. So he says why there is a high attrition rate observed in. So he wants to know that.
So I think, sir, it'll come back to we all know today in India the attrition rate compared to the see banking industry is probably the most stressful industry to working. I feel so. Okay, and it has always been like that. Today we are not just talking about attrition in India. Even in a US market, you have around 18-19% attrition today. So I don't know the exact figure of where the attrition rate, but if you're saying, sir, I think definitely 25% or 28% would be somewhere. My estimate would be right in banking industry, and I feel it boils down to that. How are you able to attract good talent? Okay, and how you're able to retain them, and retaining them would require a lot of how you what kind of work experience you're creating in an organization, what kind of culture you're creating in an organization, and what kind of overall, we call it the employee life cycle, the overall employee experience you're giving to the candidate. And with that comes the constant growth and promotion, which today's generation is very very impatient about. And I think at the same time, deservedly so, because it's a fast paced environment. And though banks have a very structured career path, if when you join a bank, you know exactly in 1 years, 2 years, 3 years, what kind of promotion you can get from, let's say, typically an assistant manager to deputy manager to manager to senior manager. So it's not that the growth path is not mentioned. It is clearly stated and people can see that. But it is the nature of the job. It is the pressures and the targets associated with those jobs, and it is the fast paced environment in which where the banking industry is growing. I only hope that with emerging technologies coming in and innovation coming in, the banking way we do banking will change, and that may attract the new generation in terms of developing those skills. But the way people are, I think, specifically the younger generation, where they're looking at banking as a career, I think they're not looking at it in a full time or in a long term career. That has changed a lot from the way, let's say, our previous generations used to look at banking as a career. It is almost as a stopgap, because a lot of my attrition, which is there today in banks, is primarily in the 1 to 3 year range. So the people are quitting even before they start the career in a bank. Yes, but there are lots of work happening on, as I mentioned, on creating that employee experience, making sure that we are able to give them professional development, and at the same time, giving them a slightly a modern outlook to the banking by introducing digital banking services and various other things which could keep them engaged in a job. I think we need to really also focus on how a person can continuously learn in a bank, because I think that learning curve has to be there, which can keep people motivated, engaged to continue for a longer time.
Right. So there is again one question from Harleen. So she says she is a chartered accountant and she is asking, will AI lower the jobs in the banking sector?
Well, AI will lower the jobs in any sector, but it depends how fast people are going to be able to adopt to that AI. Okay, how fast these organizations will adopt to the AI, how fast the machines will learn. uh, Even I can't envisage that. I don't have an answer to this question right now. But obviously, with the advent of AI, we can all assume that in any industry, in any banking, whether banking or finance or even in traditional manufacturing organizations, there will be obviously there will be a need for relooking at the way we function and the actual manpower requirements going forward. So I feel it is related to the how fast an organization can adapt to AI, and how fast they can improve on their processes, which will then determine whether jobs need to be taken, or people need to be reskilled or upskilled to handle that.
Right. So there is a LinkedIn user name is not coming up. What are the reasons that nowadays bank focusing only on the diversity hiring?
Oh yes, that is very critical now. That's again one part of employee experience. I mentioned that we have to look at and with COVID, actually, with pandemic, post pandemic, that has also helped us a lot, because as I said, people are reaching out to even housewives for offering them roles in traditional organizations, and inclusive having an inclusive and diverse workplace is on the agenda of CXOs right now. So that is very, very important. Yeah, and I think most organizations are focusing on that, and especially us. There is a definite delta change in terms of amount of diversity hiring that we are doing, and amount of focus on retaining diverse talent in the organization.
Right. So I have seen, sir, in some economic times or some mint that there was around no, 5.5 lakh of staff members across the private sector banks, and it has increased to more than 8.5 lakh. So around 3 lakh employees have been hired across all banks in the last 3 4 years. So Nikhil Patel is asking that bank is now online, and then there why banks require more employees.
Because banks are expanding. There is always been a need for expansion, and to reach out to rural sectors, to semi-urban sectors. Traditionally in India, as I said, it is good to have AI, but uh, if you ask your own family members how comfortable are they today in doing digital banking, uh, they may not be. They may still need the physical contact, or the a physical a relationship manager to come and advise them on their money. Money is still looked at as a very, very sacred thing, and we call it Lakshmi. So we want to make sure that someone is and of course then there is this huge war of fraudulent activities which is going on in current day and age. So there is traditionally in India, I feel people are still comfortable with using the going to a bank or brick and mortar kind of setup for banks. And with time this will take turn, I feel. With time this will happen, and it will. Right now I don't think is India is totally ready to typically move purely into digital, though we have made leaps and bounds, and there's been huge intervention, like for example our UPI payment system. I think now everybody has adopted it. Most people have adopted it. People who are senior citizens also are using UPI for various services. But still, I feel it'll take time. And the expansion plans for every bank, including PSU banks, in commercial banking, public banks, private banks, both are heavily invested in expansion. So as long as expansion is there, there will be need for more and more manpower.
Right, right. So what we have seen in the past is that public sector banks are consolidating, they are being merged with one another, but private sector banks are increasing. More
Yeah,
licenses were given to some
yeah,
small finance banks, to universal banks. IDFC and Bandhan came up in a big way.
yeah,
So you are right. So branches are increasing. Even
yes,
HDFC also announced many
yes,
branches will be
yes,
coming.
yes. So if you just look at 2024, I think data would be around in just in 2024, about 750,000 people were hired in banking. So that gives you a very good understanding of how how much hiring is happening in banks. Though the numbers have come down. I mean, in the past, in about 4 or 5 years prior to that, the numbers were higher actually. But now most banks are consolidating, the mergers are happening. So also I'm seeing a huge trend where people from PSU banks are coming and working with private banks. That is also happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is one question from Gurleen Kaur. So she says, how are banks improving cyber security to prevent fraud and data breaches? So I think this is out of the syllabus question. Today's topic was regarding the human resources. So still, if you can, sir, want to say something
How are banks improving on cybersecurity?
to prevent fraud and data breaches.
I think we are, as users, we are using some of the most sophisticated the two-step, three-step protection that we have when we use banking apps, even mobile banking, digital banking. That just goes to show the amount of sophistication that is already there. And there's a need, there's a as a skill set, there's a huge need for people to have knowledge of cybersecurity, because this is an area which will continuously keep changing given the in the current context, because also all these fraudulent activities, etc., which is happening, and there are regulatory changes which are happening every time from the governing body. So cybersecurity will become one of the most important skills. So I feel, yes, already there are lots of steps taken by most banks to improve on cybersecurity, but I think there is more scope for improvement here, and there will be a lot of attempts, especially from our government, because our government has, announced that the banking revolution, the digital banking revolution, will be there. So, from our government of India perspective, also there will be a lot of new things coming in. So, because the banking space, I feel, will change, and it'll become about more about the digital transformation and providing more innovative, bringing in more technology. So, with that, there'll be huge need for cybersecurity and other, uh, improvements and technological innovations required there. Yeah.
Right. So one Nadeem Khan is asking, sir, that my right eye is disabled by 40%. So can he join retail banking?
Yes, we actually have those options as well. Of course, there are formal ways to you know uh, uh, apply to the bank, for various banks for this, but most banks today have as part of inclusion and diversity, you can definitely apply. And depending on the nature of the job that you're interested in, we can definitely know, and there can be a evaluation done and that can be considered. Most banks are actually having this option now.
Right. So there is a question, sir, by Shamir Sablok. He is again a seasoned banker. He said that mental well-being and workplace happiness is missing in today's banking sector. As out of four jobs in banks, three are in sales, and nobody wants to join sales-driven targets jobs.
Well, I can only agree to that, but you have to understand that the typical, the customer facing roles which are there in banks today, where mostly you will find people working in branch banking. Uh, that is where you will find these things are there. But people who are applying for, let's say, jobs in risk management or investment banking, that's a totally different kind of experience. So I think it's very important for people to know what they want before they apply to a job in banking. Okay, so there's no point. I feel worrying about this, because you know the nature of the job before you apply to a bank, or even if you are looking for a career in banking. Uh, even let's say, typically, if you look at a PSU bank, people apply as probationary officers or clerks. They join, but they are also assigned branch banking for about good 5 to 7 years. They are sent to to the branch banking side, and then they're brought back again to the risk management treasury side, or various other. But that exposure is very important, because if you don't understand the ground reality, how to deal with the customer, what the customer is looking for, and you can't set the right kind of, you don't know how to handle that stakeholder or an HNI, typically what the HNI is looking for. So those things are very, very critical, I feel, to be a seasoned banker. So it is how you look at it. Why you want to join a bank, that you would know. But once you have decided to make a career in banking, this aspect is an important aspect. I feel if you look at it as sales, then yes, I mean, I don't look at it as sales. I just look at it as someone who has the ability to cater to the customer, to the needs of the customer, to understand different banking tools and banking services, products. It is essential to know these products if you want to make a career in banking. And the only way and the best way to do it is if you interact with customers, to understand the need of a customer, and then being able to negotiate and provide that service, or that fulfill that need of the customer. It's very essential. And because sales is there everywhere. Even today, even if you're applying for a job, you are selling yourself. So there is no point shying away from it, or avoiding it. You have to attempt. Yes, yes. But one aspect, yes, what I feel is, he has mentioned correctly, is that there is a sales pressure, which I agree. There is definitely the need for, and that too is coming because of competition, because of the various products and services that we have to offer as a bucket, or as a as a bouquet of products that we have, services that we have to offer. So when there are so many products to talk and discuss about, then of course there are some targets and sales pressures which come in. This affects maybe the mindset of the person who's working in that job, and it affects the overall you know uh, maybe they get a little disillusioned with how they want to look at the banking career. But if you have the tenacity and if you have the adaptability, which I talked about earlier, if you're able to adapt to these situations, then I think what's in store for you in future in banking is a very, very stable, very, very a good career in front of you, and as well as the opportunity to make create wealth for yourself in a bank. And mind you, with these sales and targets, there's a lot of incentives also which come along with it. So it's not that people are not compensated for that.
Right. ESOPs coming all the way. And yes,
even
sir,
even even incentives on achieving your sales goals.
yes. So I am in Jodhpur, sir. Yesterday I met a person who is working with, who worked with Kotak for 9 years now, working with Axis Bank, and he was quite happy. तो मैंने उनको यही क्वेश्चन पूछा कि सर, बच्चे तो बोलते हैं बहुत प्रेशर है, कहता है जिसको जॉब नहीं चाहिए वही कहता है प्रेशर है, अदरवाइज तो आई हैव ग्रोन अप, मतलब आई एम फ्रॉम स्मॉल विलेज एंड नाउ आई एम अ सीनियर मैनेजर इन एक्सिस बैंक एंड आई एम रिस्पेक्टेड वेल इन माय विलेज एंड नियर बाय एरियाज. सो वो बोलता है कि मेरे को भी लोगों को समझाना है, सिखाना है कि बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री ज्वाइन करो, एंड वेयर इट इज लुक्ड अपॉन अ रिस्पेक्टेबल जॉब,
Mhm.
पेरेंट्स विल फील प्राउड कि हमारा बच्चा ब्रांच मैनेजर है या क्लस्टर हेड कौन बन गया है. So this is all about perspectives, I think. So there is one question from Anjali sir. What
Yeah,
type of knowledge is required to become a teller in a bank?
a teller in a bank. Well, there is no specific training you require before you join the job. But once you are on the job for a teller, you need to obviously deal with a lot of cash and transactions. So one aspect is there will be obviously a lot of training given to you to make sure that you know how to do the teller job. But as such, there is no specific degree or qualification that you need to apply for teller job. You just need to have, as I mentioned, those skills or those soft skills and the right mentality to be able to service customer. But one thing I want to talk about is, uh, I feel a lot of youngsters apply for banking jobs with the specific thought that this is my job and this is what I will be asked to do. Okay, but you must understand, when somebody, well, let's say when somebody applies to a PSU, they know it's a transferable job. Okay, as in a public sector bank, they know in 2 years or 3 years they will be moved from one place to another. So it's a given, it's an understand, they understand that before joining also. Similarly, in banking, in private banks especially, I'm talking about, if you want to apply as a teller, that role is not very, it's an entry level role for us. Okay, where we give the person a first sort of glimpse and exposure into what is happening in a bank. So I would suggest, think from the perspective of why you want to work as a teller. Okay, you ask yourself that question, why do I want to be a teller? Why don't I want to be somebody doing another job? Why don't I want to do a sales job? So I feel very important is when you are getting to work, whether as a teller or a welcome desk or a customer care experience executive or a branch manager, your thought process is, well, I'm working in that job. What more can I learn on the job? That should be the thought process. If I can volunteer to learn something new while I'm doing the teller job, if I can volunteer to do something else while I'm doing that job, that is going to give you a very sort of a growth mindset, and that is what's going to keep you motivated doing different things in banking. If you only look at, I want to apply for teller because it is a desk job and I only want to be able to handle cash, because maybe I have an accountancy background or bcom background, it has got no relevance actually. Even as a science student you can do a teller job. So these are entry level jobs. These don't require a lot of it doesn't even require an MBA. It can just be a simple graduate and apply. You need to have the right mindset as to what experience will this job give you, what will you learn from the job, if at all while doing this job you'll understand banking operations. And if you learn banking operations, what more can you do in the bank? How can you volunteer, raise your hand and say, sir, if someone is absent today, someone is not doing something, can I go and pitch in for that person? Can I learn something about, let's say, the forex transactions which are happening in the bank? Can I learn something about, how to, enroll or activate a customer on mobile banking? So these are the things I feel one should look forward to, and these are opportunities you will get when you join in as a teller or whether an customer experience executive in a bank. All right. So I feel, again, coming back to the point as to why you want to work in a bank. That is I think more important than you know what qualification is required to do a teller job.
So that is why we ask our students when they apply for our course, we ask them the first question and the only question, that why do you want to enter into a banking sector? So
That
when
why question is very important, I feel, because that sets the tone, and that that really gives an understanding of what the candidate is willing to bring on the job also. For us also, as when we hire, we want to see people who can demonstrate or show understanding of banking. Even if they've not worked in a bank, they should know about this a bank, they should know what a little bit about the banking industry, or they should be able to come and showcase that, sir, I'm myself a user of different banking platforms or services or software. That gives a very good understanding with how involved the person is or knows about bank. And most importantly, whether the person has that mindset to have a long term career in banking industry, because it's definitely not a short term career option. If you come with a short term mindset, it will not work out for you. In fact, you'll leave with a more I feel negative experience than being able to convert it into a blossoming career, because banking today is still known, while it is yes, it's stressful, but at the same time still known to be give you one of the most stable career options today in at least in India. And whether recession will come, whether some other economical disruptions will come, banks are here to stay. And India's got a huge growth path now, and with India's growth, the banking sector will also grow. So there is only, I feel this is a very good time for people who are looking at taking up banking as a career, especially with so many disruptions coming in. People talked about AI, people losing jobs, but I feel banking is a sector where there will still be need for more and more people, and there will be the hiring trends will be on an upside.
you very rightly said that it's a recession proof industry, sir. We
I
have
feel so.
seen in the past, during the COVID, so on between 12th or 15th April, most of the banks were allowed to open the branches because economy runs on the banking industry only. So that is very much required. So you talked about flexibility, adaptability, and learning ability is required to be a successful banker. So these were my takeaways. So we have more questions coming up, but I think they are not relevant to HR. So any last liners or any last pointers regarding how to be a how to get a job in a bank and then how to be a successful banker, because we have seen our students starting from a teller cashier and now after 8 9 years they are branch managers in one or the other bank, and they have
Mm,
a forward, they can go up to maybe vice president or maybe zonal head or a country head even, which is only I
mm,
think possible in the banking industry. Even a
mm.
BA student can be a vice president of the bank. So
No, I don't have any last words, but since most of the people here are students, I feel uh, I should probably talk about how or what would be the right way to approach a banking job. I feel I already talked about a lot of these aspects. Whether most important aspect being why. Okay, why do you want to do this for a career? And very important to have. I feel starting early in banking really helps. I feel a lot of the people who are leaders in our organization or many other banking organizations probably didn't even have an MBA. They started as just graduates, and today look where they are. They are all sitting in leadership positions. Most of them who are in leadership positions would have started early in banks. So starting early is important, and I touched upon that aspect where I feel that you need to learn from the work that you get. Any work that you get in banking, any job that you get in banking, you need to have that learning mentality. You need to be able to uh, you know uh, uh, as I said, put up your hand and volunteer for taking up more responsibility. These are some of the things which are very very important, and I also feel there should be a habit of reading about banking at home when you're not in your typically doing your course. Keep up updated on the trends of banking, how the banking industry is shaping up in India, what are the digital transformations that are happening, how this has got accelerated from the time from the end the revolution, the banking revolution has come in India. And in terms of see, today I talked about it. I talked about the fact that people require skills like AI, cybersecurity, and even data analytics. So if these are skill sets that you can pick up, you need to showcase those skill sets. Even when you're applying to a bank, and most importantly, because there's a constant change in all industries, there is a constant change. Uh, Work on your soft skills. Continuously work on your soft skills so that you are able to keep that constant, keep that strength in place, so that no matter what skill sets are required, or the changes keep happening every 5 years or 10 years, you can obviously learn that. You can, if you have a learning ability, you can learn that. But having a strong foundation of soft skills is very very important, because that gives you the strength and sort of the platform to be adaptable, platform to be flexible, platform to change according to times. And today's day and age, that is, I think, very very important, that people, or our youngsters especially, are able to change to the environment depending on the need of the organization, or depending on the need of the environment that you're in. And having sort of being able to showcase a continued history of learning throughout your career, whether it is at the academic stage or whether it is at the um, even when you're doing a job, how you have been able to develop from one role to the other, and what are the learnings that you picked up. So these are the things which I would, I think, talk about. Yeah.
right, I think sir, students and other fellow bankers have taken a lot from you sir today. Thank you for
Thank
being.
you. I hope I have been able to answer all the questions. I'm not sure if your audience is satisfied with the answers, but I feel I've tried my best to answer all the questions, and hopefully this was an engaging experience for everybody.
Right. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And the last remark by Deepika Kushwaha is, because I think I can grow in banking sector fast, and nowadays it is very important to be honest, integrity, self-motivated, positive attitude, and very good communication to make people around you feels good, comfortable, and a healthy environment. Something positive she wants to write about banking. And Gurleen
Yes,
said that
I
I
think
too.
I think I agree with her. Yes.
Yeah, Gurleen says, I truly enjoyed this session. Thank you, sir. So, thank you, sir. Thank you once again for.
Thank you.
And there are many other messages coming up. Excellent session, very informative sessions, great insights, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Pleasure's
And
mine. Pleasure's mine.
right. So, thank you, everyone.